mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the Great Pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Laurie Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Nite Callers Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio. It is September 24th, 2015, and you're here with the full crew. We don't know if they're fully here, but there's all of them. You've got Graz, Billy, Lauren, and Lori. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Well, now that the show has started, we're all doing really good.
Yeah, I feel better.
Oh, my goodness.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Yes. It's going to be a great show tonight, too, by the way.
So, oh, man. Hold on. Just kidding. So, how's everything going with you guys? Like,
better than the way it's going with you.
I know. I know. I'm never going to live this down, ever.
No, you're not.
Know it. I know, but you guys take pity on me. I am hormotional, okay? I can't help it.
Lauren is pregnant, and her hormones she's very emotional, and she has a mouse in a glue trap that she cannot kill. And, of course, you've got Graz and Billy here trying to tell her how to kill it. And she's got her husband on the phone trying to tell her how to kill it in many various gruesome ways. And she just can't do it.
I can't. Okay, so I just can't. I can't.
You're a kitty kid.
I can take down a deer. I can shoot a whole bag full of doves. But I cannot kill this damn mouse. I cannot. Every time I get near it, I start crying, and I can't. It's mortifying.
She can't whack up us.
Oh, my God, I can't. Oh, I can't.
Okay.
I tried to take it outside with the spatula. I'm going to be traumatized for the rest of my life. I can't.
Yeah, you know what? If I had known all this was going to come, I would have got that song by Michael Jackson called Ben. About the mouse.
It's okay, Lauren.
Oh, yeah.
Never going to live this down.
Probably not.
I'm sorry about that, Miss Lauren, but it's just too good, and I'll share with everybody out there.
No, my reaction. I don't know how y'all didn't hear me when I had it on the spatula and I carried it outside. It fell off the spatula.
I don't think you was going to hurt it any worse at that point.
Well, I screamed like a grown man with his junk in a vice.
God, I've never heard that.
Manly scream, I don't know. It was embarrassing.
How does she know what that sounds like? That's a scary one there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised the cops haven't shown up yet. It sounded like someone was like slowly torturing someone. That scream. It was pretty hilarious.
A YouTube moment if somebody had been there.
Yes. Yeah, thank God none of my neighbors hang out in their backyards. That's good. Anyway, so any new stuff happening?
Oh, I did hear a most marvelous howl yesterday evening. It was one of those deep howls, and of course I wasn't recording, and but I did hear it, and I haven't heard one of those in years and years. So I was really pleased that I heard that. So, but really not a lot going on other than just here and there, I hear stuff. So, what about anybody else? You guys got anything going on? We've got just a few more minutes before our first caller calls in, so you guys just bear with us. They'll be here in just a moment.
Obviously no Bigfoot action here.
It's still too hot.
Yeah. I don't know what's got
right
them up
now.
on my place. Yeah.
I'm sure a Bigfoot wouldn't mind killing this mouse at all. Take him home to his baby for a snack.
Well,
Not too much.
with
I've been on vacation all week, but I call that time off because I don't go to Bimini or Yucatan or anything on vacation.
I didn't know you were on vacation. That's a staycation is what we call that. It's pretty awesome. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay home and sit on
good.
the couch and get things done.
I got a lot of things done. I got a lot of things done around the place and worked on my van for a while. I still got to do something with it tomorrow. Ordered up a part for it this morning. Picking it up tomorrow.
Awesome.
So, my Squatch van. Got to keep it going. But that's about it. Nothing squatchy going around here yet. I can report.
Well, if it's all right, I'm going to go ahead and tell everyone what we're doing tonight if they didn't read our introduction thing. But basically, we searched our archives for the most popular researchers, the more popular. We have had a lot of popular researchers, but we found 4, and we actually have more than that. So we're going to be doing several update shows. But we're bringing them on tonight so they can update us on what they've been doing since they were last on the show. And so anyway, we had a huge response on that. I was just really amazed. These people have got things going on. So anyway, we are going to have them on tonight. These numbers almost match our first guest, but they're not exactly. So I don't know if they're friends or.
Yeah, that's a local person calling in to listen.
Let me go ahead and tell about our guests tonight.
Okay.
All right. So tonight we have, and what I'm going to do is give who we have, where they're from, and I'm going to give the date for when we had them on our show the first time, so that if you would like, you can go back into the archives and listen to the full interview with that person. So first we have Daniel Benoit from Virginia, and his show was May 28th, 2015. Next is Geof Chisholm from Pennsylvania, and he was on twice. He was on a round table on March 26th, 2015, and also he had his full interview November 2nd, 2014. We have Fred Kanney, also from Virginia. He was on July 9th, 2015, and Dr. Webb Sentell from Louisiana, and he was on May 7th, 2015. Also, at any time throughout tonight, if we have someone that wants to call in, if one of our listeners want to call in, the number is 347-989-0313, and you'll press 1 to let the host know that you want to speak to the host or the guest. So, I believe that all of our guests are pretty much on the line. So,
all right, I'll go ahead and bring Daniel on then.
Okay.
Here we go. Daniel, you with us?
Yes, I'm here. How you doing?
Hi, Daniel.
Hey.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. I really appreciate you guys having me back. It's very exciting. So.
Yeah. Well, we are honored to have you back.
And it's definitely an honor to be back and also recognized. So it's a good feeling.
Yes, it is. You know, I went through there, and some of our higher downloads is how we all chose the ones that we were going to ask to come back, and plus on YouTube the ones that got the most comments and things like that, positive feedback, that went towards our decision on who to ask too. So, anyway, welcome to the show.
Absolutely.
Do you want to go ahead and just jump right in there and tell us what's been going on since we talked to you last?
Well, since the last time I've been around, as usual, I've been getting out in the field and, doing my scouting around and observing, nature as I usually do. And also I've been actually collecting some reports. I have a number of reports, but there's two that actually stand out that I'm actually investigating this coming weekend. There's fresh sightings. One report is a lady and her daughter. They were riding along a specific highway. Information as far as location, I'm going to keep that quiet. But, along the certain highway, they were riding along, and from what she described to me, she saw a very large, massive creature hiding behind a tree that was nowhere large enough to hide what this creature's size was. But, and this was only a month ago. This was very fresh. This was a month ago, and it's not far at all from where I live. Yeah, and another report is also a specific area where this one gentleman, him and his wife, had both camped there in their camper, and they've actually had their camper literally pushed or kicked. The gentleman ran out of his camper. He had a pistol in his hand. Of course, there was nothing to be seen, even though it was dark. But, he said he didn't hear nothing or see nothing. And apparently, as far as going back in, he said not long after he got back in and shut the door on the camper, it happened again. And he ran back out again and nothing. Well, this same gentleman, he actually returned there about a week ago. And he noticed, this is during the daytime now, he was actually checking into this area, and he couldn't help but notice these very large tracks coming out of the creek. And he tried to match them, and they were, what he said, beyond a normal human stride. And he said he could definitely rule out that they were not there. So these areas here, there's something, there's definitely something going on, and these are just a couple of reports I've actually picked up recently. And, there's a few others. I have so much going on and so much on my mind, I don't know where to go with everything right now. So I'm trying to do one thing at a time. I also got an event coming up here in November. We've done this last year, and we're doing it again this year. We're actually having a Bigfoot town hall gathering. It's going to be here in Virginia, and, it's November 14th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It's an event. We're trying to gather and pull out people, and hopefully pick up, some stories, hopefully they're true stories. Yeah, because, a lot of people, we're letting people know that we're here for them, and, a lot of people, you'll be surprised, I come across people, once they find out who I am, what I do, that's where I've been getting my reports. I'm getting people coming out of the woodwork once they know and acknowledge who I am or what I do. And that's what I'm working on, as far as having these gatherings. We're trying to let people know this is who we are and we're here. We want to hear from you. And, it's amazing how many people and how many stories and encounters go unreported, because these individuals don't have the right people to, have access to or don't know who to talk to. So that's what we're working on. We're continuing bringing awareness to who we are and what we do. And, and while I'm on the topic, I'll go ahead, get some information out if there's any listeners that live around the Virginia, West Virginia, even Maryland and North Carolina surrounding areas. Because, right now we've got some hot spot and a lot of activity going on right here. This time of year, for some reason, I'm going to say the Squatches are getting very active. There's been a lot of reports and activity and various encounters here. But the information, like I said, the Bigfoot Town Hall Gathering, it's November 14th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Buckhorn Inn Bed and Breakfast, which is at 2487 Henke Mountain Highway, Churchville, Virginia, zip code 24421, and the number is 540-337-8660. This is an event sponsored by the ECBRO. And to clarify one thing, a lot of people ask what's ECBRO stand for. We are the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization. And like I said, all residents are welcome. We want to hear about your encounters and possible sightings. If you had one, come on out. This is what it is all about. We're trying to, bring everybody in, and we're going to introduce ourselves and, and get the crowd comfortable. And we're hoping for a decent crowd. So, and then apart from the activity that's been going on here, all the surrounding the Virginia area, I've been doing my own little studies and, just kind of more or less taking it all in and kind of putting some, I'm starting to put a few pieces of the puzzle together, on my own. I mean, don't ask me how to put them, what those pieces are, but
I've been watching your videos that you've been uploading. You've been taking some people out there and finding some pretty good stuff on them.
Actually not long ago, I could tell you, let me think, it was probably about a month ago. One gentleman that'll be on tonight, Fred Kanney, me, Fred Kanney, and a young lady named Lacey Bell, all three of us, we were out in the woods. We were separated, and we decided to, go two separate ways, and we ended up meeting up. And as we were working our way through the woods, let me rewind a little bit. Well, while we were hiking up a trail, we were hearing movement and activity beside us in the woods. Not seeing anything, but, we were hearing stuff. I mean, it could have been any other animal. But after we regrouped and got together, we worked our way up on the ridge that we were at. And then we came down to the bottom and worked our way up another ridge. By the time we got to the other ridge, we were tired. We were trying to catch our breath. And while we were there, I decided, hey, I'm going to do a tree knot. And keep in mind, it's dead quiet out there. No wind, no sounds whatsoever. I gave off a good, solid, clear tree knot. And within seconds, I got immediate response. Not just one, but two. I got a tree knot over to my left, just from the ridge we just came from, to my left. And then about 5 seconds later, over to the right, another tree knot. And, which was very incredible and amazing, we just came from that ridge. So, that kind of almost tells me, well, I feel like we were being watched for fall, one or the other. Now we couldn't rule out that there was people in the woods, because I'll tell you why. After hearing them, we started hearing, heavy movement. And over off to our far right, we happened to look over, and here comes an old-timer walking down through the woods hiking. And I said, well, but the tree knots didn't come from the direction he came from. But then again, like I said, can't rule out people, but we just came from there. We know there was no one over there, but so, little incidents like that we really found interesting. It was exciting. Now, there's another footage I have. I actually taken out of the area that Fred Kanney researches. Now, I can't rule out that it was some other known animal, but as I was videotaping off the trail that we were at, looking up on the ridge, we heard movement prior to what I was seeing. And so I started filming with my camera phone. And whatever it was behind the bushes. If you watch it carefully, you could see movement. And whatever it was, it looked like it was either trying to hide or just it was moving around doing whatever it was doing. And then at one point you could see it completely disappear behind the foliage. And now, being who I am, I do try to be objective, in the field and try not to jump on the Bigfoot train about every little incident. But what made this situation a little bit more interesting, after we got up the trail, we went up the trail and we had to cross the creek. After crossing the creek, about 15, 20 feet, as we got onto the other part of the trail across the creek, we hear a tree snap, and then all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, we hear what sounds like a very heavy, large rock landing in the creek right next to us. And it stops us in our tracks, and I walk through the woods to look over to the creek. I try to investigate, see if I see anything, and I'm not seeing nothing. Then I decide to give out one of my own whoops, and I gave out a whoop, and right away, as soon as I did it, I got one back. In the area I was in, I was concerned it might have been an echo, so I waited for a little bit. I said, all right, I'm going to try another one. I did another one to make sure I didn't get no echo back, and sure enough, I didn't get nothing. I didn't get no response on that. So between hearing some kind of tree or limb snap and getting a rock thrown in the creek beside us, that whole incident, the whole thing made the whole thing very interesting. I mean, because now, yes, a bear will snap a limb or a tree, whatever, but they won't throw a rock into a creek. Yeah, it's possible that they could push something, but this got thrown. It had force. So, little incidents like that. These, like I said, all this happened within this last month. And as far as the reports that I've shared, they've actually been shared recently within this past week. And the two that I told you about anyway. There's other areas in the state of Virginia. There's actually activity in West Virginia that will come at a later date. And I've actually have people sharing information down in North Carolina. You have to set up some time and schedule them to get down there. But, there's a lot I'm working on. There's a lot going on, and I try not to let it overwhelm me. But it's all exciting together. So, but right now, basically, that's pretty much what I got going on at the moment. Like I said, I'm anxious to check out these areas. Check out this road sighting that happened only a month ago. I'm very anxious about that. And
well, I like what you're doing so far. The videos are showing it, is that you're actually doing the due diligence about the signs that you're finding, like with the tree structures that you're bumping into. You're walking around and you're looking to make sure it doesn't fall. You're looking up to make sure it isn't coming down. You're checking where they're attached to the ground to see if they're root balls that are down at the bottom, in other words, accidental fall or whatever, to see if they're actually attached to the ground. And you're finding tracks that you're putting on video. You're at least, compared to some of the people I've seen, you're at least doing the due diligence.
And thanks for bringing that one up. I mean, that was that's probably like my most recent one. Well, one of my most recent ones. And I mean, I keep thinking about that, and that area right there, that's a very active area. I go in that general area quite often. Now, just around the corner from that, the same set of woods is where I shared a lot of the activity and the encounters that happened within this year when I was here a few months ago. And also that's also the same set of woods that we've shared that our sighting or encounter last year at. So all this is in that same general area. Also, the tree knock responses I was telling you about, that's exactly the same set of woods, the same ridge and mountain, all right there. So that mountain's holding a lot of activity, and there's something there, and there's definitely something going on. They love that area for some reason. But like the 15, that tree, the big tree I found was totally uprooted with the roots, out of the ground, and like I said, away from its original location, wherever that might have been. That was roughly about a 15-foot tree around a good 8 inches round at least, And I mean, stuff like that. When I find stuff like that, and I do try to look for its location, because I mean, if it was right there, then I would have just assumed, okay, a bear was pushing on this tree, because that's what bears do. They're very common for pushing in on trees, and I mean, right in that same area, I was seeing a lot of bear signs, so. That's why I was trying to be careful, and consider bears too, because there was a lot of fresh bear sign there. But unless it was a very large, heavy bear, because there was if you remember that video, there was a lot of debris on the ground, and some of the wood and limbs looked like they were crushed, and there was one in particular that looked like something had stepped and crushed it, and so I mean there was some interesting stuff right there in that one spot. So I found things in there, and that's what I do. I try to concentrate on specific areas. I mean, that whole national forest over there, I have certain spots I kind of randomly keep going back and check. And I know what was there each time I go back. If there's something new, I'll know it. I document a lot of this, and I go back, even from the years before. I can tell you what was there last year and what's new this year. A lot of times you can tell from the color of if it's a tree that's broken, twisted. I mean, it's pretty, identifiable. I mean, you can tell if it's new or old, or seasoned, especially, seasoned wood usually turns gray, on the most part. So yeah, there's something going on there, and I'm going to continue to keep checking on those areas. And I think it's a matter of time. What's that now?
You getting any patterns yet about your areas, where they're connected to each other? Is any, are there any moving patterns?
Well, as far as moving wise, as far as there is a pattern there, but as far as coming and going, I mean, they're definitely active at night. I mean, I narrowed it down around the time frame, when they become active and when everything becomes silent. As far as camping out there and doing night investigations out there, about 9 o'clock at night is when you start hearing a lot of interesting activity. I mean, as far as the nightlife, some of the night animals, they get started early somehow. I mean, you'll hear owls during the daytime a lot around there. But I've actually gotten some recordings off of there, out of that area. Yeah, actually, I have them uploaded on my SoundCloud. Feel free to check out my SoundCloud. It's just under my name, Daniel Benoit. And I have different ones. I just started uploading some of my audio on there. Some of it's, your known wildlife. I got a pack of coyotes on there. I got owls. And then I got also some other unidentified howls. And I got tree knocks on there. And one of the howls I have, if you listen very carefully to the audio, at the very end you'll hear a howl, and then at the end is a space. But right at the last, within the 2-3 seconds of the audio, you'll hear a knock. But I do also have individual knock recordings on there. So, and of course, I picked up a lot of the tree knocks before any of the walnuts and the acorns started falling and dropping. And this was a good month ago or so. Right now, if you hear something in the woods, you got a lot of the acorns dropping and making noise, a lot of knocks, and a lot of times like last weekend when I was in the woods, I was listening and I heard what sounded like a tree knock, and then I listened very carefully. As soon as I hear the knock, I'm waiting to hear something drop to land, because every time I hear something close and hard enough, which sounds like a tree knock, I always listen for something dropping on the ground. Just, if I do hear that, then I know, okay, it's something from a tree, so that fell from a tree. Little things like that. Those are the things I listen for and I do. Tree knocks, a lot of people easily misidentify tree knocks. Woodpeckers is a good example. A lot of people will claim hearing tree knocks when they're woodpeckers or acorns or walnuts, chestnuts falling out of a tree. So, I mean, there's a lot of little things I listen for. And in my videos, I do try to point some of this out. Some of my videos, I may not be showing much of anything. Sometimes I'm out in the woods, I'll start talking because, I'll get an educated thought in my head and I want to share it. So you'll see a lot of that on my YouTube as well. So, but yeah, that's pretty much about it. But yeah, that was an interesting video.
One thing, while you were talking before about all these things that you have planned on, and people getting in touch with you about his reports and things like that, you need to give out your Facebook page and any other websites you might have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing, if people want to reach me, my email is ecbro98@gmail.com. Feel free. I'm always online. I always check my email. I'm always on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook as Daniel Benoit, which is Benoit. Usually in parentheses, you can enter in ECBRO founder, and you'll find me. And also, if you want to check out my field videos, and I also do live podcast shows, which I've been doing lately, which I used to do a while, about a year ago. I started picking them back up, and we do a lot of random discussions, and just some of them are for fun, and some of them we do topics. But like I said, check them out.
How do you find them, Daniel?
What's that now?
How do you find those podcasts? Are they on Blog Talk? And what would be the name they would look for?
As far as my podcast, just go on there. They're all under my YouTube channel, ECBRO 98.
Okay.
A lot of times I'll share the links. Like I had Kendra, I pronounced his name wrong because I had to ask him when I had him on the show. But Ken Gerhard is actually, I used to pronounce it Ken Gerhard, but he was one of our latest guests. Yeah, I had him on here about a week ago, and he was a great guest. So it was awesome to have him on there because he was doing the Mothman Festival, and I'm working on another gentleman, and I'm waiting for him to get back. I don't want to announce him yet until it's confirmed because he's another one he gets around the world. So, but like I said, a lot of times it's just me, Frank Kanney, and a few others from the UCBR team, and we get together, we talk, and we just start doing random talks and discussions, and sometimes it brings out some great stuff, and and I do screen shares, which is, I'll share pictures from my site, through the YouTube, where viewers could see what I'm sharing as well, and we'll discuss about, different evidence of things we found, tracks or structures, etc. So, but yeah, definitely check out and subscribe to my YouTube channel, ECBRO98. Also, if you want to check out my website, and feel free to register on that, it's www.ecbro.wordpress.com.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us all your updates, and we're really excited about everything you're doing. And I tell you what, our listeners were happy you came back on too.
Yes.
Let them know. And all the websites, definitely, we're glad that you did that so that they have a way to contact with you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, one thing I'm trying to work on, which I've had more than one person critic me on my video footages, is, I'm not an expert video footage, I know sometimes I pan too much, or, I'm not good at filming. I got to slow down, I was told, so, which I'm going to work on that.
That was me. You can blame me for that.
Yeah, well, you're not the only one. There was other people that commented and stuff, too, and what it is, see, I have a really good high-definition video camcorder, and I've been using my camera phone most of the time, so, but I actually got my camcorder being charged up because that's being used tomorrow evening is when I'm going out to investigate the road sighting, so.
You'll be all right. You'll get the hang of it after a while.
Yeah.
So, I got my camcorder set up for tomorrow, and, of course, it'll be a clear, sharp image, and I got a monopod for it, and my daughter's going to be controlling it, so hopefully she don't shake it or mess it up. Yeah. So.
Well, Daniel, thanks for coming on, and we got to let you go now, and love to have you back sometime.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you guys. Yeah, I really appreciate being on, and thank you guys very much. And it was great talking to you guys. And like I said, check out my YouTube channel, and I'm always around. I always have links for live podcasts. So maybe I'd like to get you guys on sometime, and we could have a random open discussion and whatever. So.
Oh, that would be great. I'm in.
All right. Well, I'll be sure to send you a link to join in. So.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. Good night, Daniel.
Well, good night.
All right. Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Grab, if you'll bring on Mr. Geof Chisholm from Pennsylvania.
How you guys doing?
Jeff. There you are, Jeff.
Hey.
Here we are.
Here you are. Thank you for calling in. Good to hear you.
My pleasure.
Jeff had a show not too long ago that he had me on, and that was so much fun. I enjoyed it.
That was a good time. That was a real good time. Oh, man, you guys, the show's going great.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on with you? Do you have some stories to tell us? I knew you had some exciting stories to tell us, so I wanted to. Been excited and waiting for you to come on and tell us.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, well, I do, actually. I do have a few stories. At first, I wasn't sure, and I thought, well, wait a second here. Yeah, actually, I got actually 3 things to tell you. I hope I can get them all 3 in.
Yeah.
First of all, I've kind of taken a step back from what I call publicly Bigfooting, if you will. And it's not like I don't like Bigfoot or anything like that. It's more I just have other things that I want to start to focus on in my life. So I thought, man, well, it was real hard for me to put down. But at the same time, I still keep up with a lot of things locally that I can, which is what I originally wanted to do. But okay, well, so I have 3 things that I can chat about. But the first one is, it's kind of quick, but there's a gentleman that doesn't live too far from my area, and he lives on, I'd say, about 100 acres. The reason I say that is I think his family sold a little bit of acreage off. Excuse me. And this guy, you know, he's a typical woodsman. You know, he likes to live in the woods. I don't even think he has running water out there. I don't think he has plumbing or anything. I mean, his house is really like a shanty, you know. I mean, he really lives in the mountain and doesn't really come off. And I think actually the only time he gets phones, they're going to be like track phones and stuff to keep up with his family. And I think actually they have to go out there every now and again to make sure, you know, check on him. Yeah. But well, he had a fire going a few weeks back. He had a fire going, and he's building this fire up, and he had this stack of wood, and he's getting to the bottom of it, and he took this one piece of wood, and he started banging it on this tree, trying to knock the mud off, so he threw it in the fire. And all of a sudden, he started getting these knocks back. And he's like, "Whoa, what's going on here? You know, this is nighttime, it's dark," and started kind of flipping him out. Now, I haven't been out to this property yet, but I've been in contact with him actually through his sister, who actually reached out to me and would wonder if I would go out there and start to talk with him. I said, "Well, sure, you know," and I said, "Well, you know, did he tell you anything else?" Or, you know, and she says, "Well, he keeps finding all these fresh growth trees snapped over, and they're not high snaps, as if something climbed up and snapped it over with weight or anything like that." She said he says that they're low snaps, and they're really fresh. These are live trees, and these are trees about the size of a softball, she said. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I actually can't wait to get out there and look at more. But that's about all I have on him. But I know there's more going on out there. I just got to get out there and kind of check it out and talk with this guy. But he doesn't come off that mountain much. I mean, like I say, he I don't even think he has running water. I mean, I'm serious. But now
he's living off the grid, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He. I mean, there's a water source on this acreage that I think he uses regularly. You know, I don't know what he does in the wintertime, you know, for baths or showers, but maybe he's got a protective layer, you know. But anyway, yeah, well, you know, hey. But
take a clothespin with you when you go up there for your nose.
Well, that's just it, you know, that's just it. But there's another guy I've been in touch with for quite a while, actually, and I've actually become pretty good friends with him. But he and his family have just moved into a very rural home up in the mountains in another area, and they're really kind of in the heart of this forest system called the Michaud Forest, or Caledonia, or however you might try to find it. But now his family consists of himself. He's retired military. It's himself, his wife, and their 3 teenage daughters. Okay, and I think they start at like 12, I think there's another one like 14, 15. There's another one that's 16. All right, and he had a daughter from another marriage, and then, you know, they had gotten together, and his wife had 2 daughters. But I just wanted to explain that with the age there. But anyway, so it's just he and these and you know, an all-female family. Now, you know, they have a nice spot up there. They have a garden going. You know, they have a nice outbuilding. They have all kinds of nice stuff up there. They got a really nice spread. And they've lived up there about a year now, and actually I think they just closed on buying this place. But he'll come down. He'll come, you know, see me every now and again. My wife has a garden, and I'll give him tomatoes, and he'll give me squash or what have you, zucchini and things like that. And he told me, he said, hey, you know, and now he has a fence around his garden system. And he said, you know, something ate all my strawberries. I said, oh, yeah? He said, yeah. I said, well, maybe it's deer or what have you. And he's like, well, I don't know. It could be, but, you know, whatever it was, stacked all the leaves in a neat little pile. I said, really?
Oh, goodness.
He said, yeah. So I said, all right, yeah, that is strange. But anyway, one night, his wife was coming home at night. She commutes to a different city for work. She was coming home one night, and this deer runs out in front of her. She's almost home. So she stops. You know, the deer's in the middle of the road, and it won't move, you know, and she's, you know, just sitting there looking at this deer, and then all of a sudden, something really heavy hits her car, hits the side of her car, her passenger side car. You know, and it spooked her out, and she sped on home, you know, and what have you, and the deer kept looking behind it, is what she said. And she speeds on home. Well, you know, I was like, well, you know, did you check the car? And they can't really find anything, you know, dents or anything like that with the car. So we just kind of, well, you don't really have anything to put that with. But anyway, now he is home a lot during the day by himself. The girls are all at school. His wife works, things like this, different shifts. Well, a lot of times when they're all sitting there in the evening time, he has a big bay window in his living room, and he'll be sitting there. They all watch TV. They got a nice big TV, and something keeps hitting the house. Now he says something's throwing something at the house. I've been out there, walked around his house before, and all we can really find are things like pine cones and things like this. Well, he keeps saying it happens and it happens, and so I said, well, that is strange, you know, And one time his wife came, darn, I wasn't going to say her name. Well, one time she was going out to take the trash to the metal building, and something was growling at her in the dark. And she said she saw 2 pairs of eyes, or 2 eyes, very large eyes. And she said she couldn't make anything out and didn't see anything other than just 2 eyes. I asked her if she noticed the color, and she said she really didn't. So I said, all right. And I didn't want to lead her or anything, so I just kind of dropped it. But she said she dropped the trash and she just kind of went back inside. Now, their oldest teenage daughter had a friend over one night, and they're staying up late playing their music and giggling and having fun and talking and doing whatever. And they were going to go outside and sit on their porch. Well, they went to go outside, I guess, and they opened up the curtains, and they said they saw a pair of eyes looking at them just past their building, just past their house a little bit. And then she says that these are red eyes, and they were kind of high up off the ground. So I said, all right, well, that's pretty strange. And another time, he was outside, the father was outside getting a couple of shovels outside of an outbuilding, and he kept hearing what he would consider a knock. And so he's getting these shovels and he's banging them together a little bit, you know, cleaning them off or whatever. And then all of a sudden he says he heard such a loud noise. He contributed it to a knock, but it scared him so bad he went inside and got the gun. And this activity keeps ramping up and ramping up. I'll go into more of this, but it's getting to the point where he doesn't want to walk around outside without a gun, whether it's day or night. Now, he likes to scout deer, too. And he's gone out and he's looked for bedding a deer. Of course, it's getting that time of year, like Daniel said, you know. And he's looking around. He's starting to scout deer. And he said he saw some deer have been bedding down and things like this. Because he likes, I need to back up, he likes to put apple jam and things like this out around pieces of his property and bring the deer in. Well, he's out scouting around, and he said, no kidding, man. He goes, about 18, maybe 20 yards away from this deer bedding, I found another bedding. He goes, but it's different. It's got limbs around it, and it's really thick, and he goes, it's something, or he's either a lot of deer, heavy deer have been laying in there, or something. He goes, it's thicker than the deer bedding that I find, and it doesn't look like deer bedding, but it has limbs around it. And I said, well, about how far is this from your house? And he said, well, it's about 50, 60 yards from the house. So I said, okay. Now, and just at that time as well, he said he was inspecting this bedding area, and he kept hearing something walk through the forest. And I said, well, what do you mean walking? Like what? Like a bear or a deer or whatever? And he said, no, it's like a shuffle, like a foot shuffle. And I said, okay, well, what happens when that goes on? He says, well, it'll move for a few moments and it'll stop. And it'll move for a few moments and it'll stop. And it just kind of weirds me out. And he's like, so I always go home, and I get the gun immediately because it starts freaking me out. And like I say, he's retired military, and he can sometimes get a little sensitive, And another time, this is here lately. They say whether it's day or night, they keep catching something walking by their windows and their sliding glass door. And so I thought that was kind of interesting.
Now, how long have they lived there?
They've lived here a year. They've lived here just a year. And they just closed on the house and the whole thing. But it's pretty crazy, And in fact, I was on the phone with him today because I was like, hey, listen, you've been telling me things here and there whenever I get to catch up with you over the last year. I'm going to be a guest with some people tonight, and I just want to make sure I have this stuff straight. And he says, well, you know what? He's like, I'm glad you called. I wish you'd come out. He said, I swear to God, Jeff, something's on my house. I said, well, what do you mean something's on your house? Jeff, he's like, I'm telling you, man, something's throwing stuff in my house, and something was on the roof of my house. And I was like, well, what kind of thing? He goes, I don't know. And he goes, it's heavier than a raccoon, and there are no trees that hang over his house. None. And don't get me wrong, he lives in the forest, but his home is in a small clearing. There are no trees over his house. And he says, and remember that shuffle I told you about in the woods? I said, yeah. And he says, well, that's what it sounded like on my roof, but it's heavy. He goes, but it's not super heavy, it's not like, a 500-pound man's up there or anything. He goes, but something heavy is up on my roof, shuffling around, running around. And so I said, all right, well, that's really something crazy, Man, there was something I was going to tell you about that. But now his wife and his oldest daughter are also out back where they just actually put an above-ground pool up for the summer. This was a few months ago. His wife and his oldest daughter were out back, and they kept saying that they heard something in a tree, something big moving through a tree. So I said, well, and like I say, obviously a lot of this stuff can be speculative. Maybe it's a big porcupine or who knows what it is, but I don't know, man. I'm not trying to jump on the bandwagon either, but, the more I hear of this, I'm like, well, I'll tell you exactly what I think it is, man, but I'm not going to try to lead you either. But he and his wife, they go out on their porch a lot through the sliding glass doors. They got a nice wood deck out there with it's a real nice spread they got. They say just over the road there's a power line. Now, there's a pipe, we call it a pipeline, but it's power lines that go through the forest systems and through the mountains, right? And it's over in this area, they keep hearing a yell or a scream, or they say it's a yell, and they attribute it to the sound of a young girl. They say it sounds like a young girl, and she'll scream, and it'll go on and on and on, or yell. and it'll go on and on and on, and then it'll stop, and then it'll pick up and go on, and then it'll stop, and it'll happen about every 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, man, I gotta get you guys some audio, you know. I mean, here, take my audio, take it out there, you know. And I just haven't done it for one reason or another. But yeah, so they get this yowling. And here lately, on the phone today with him, he said, you know, remember I told you about those yells I was hearing? I said, yeah. And he goes, well, now I'm hearing a different type. He says, but it's a low pitch type, and it doesn't sound like a deer, you know, out there bellowing around. He goes, it's deeper, but it's lower pitched, you know, and it'll just go on for a little bit, and then it'll stop, and it'll go on, and then it'll stop. Now, also, the closest home, the only home that has anyone in it is a single female, and this is about 250 yards from his house, because of the way their property lines meet up. He's got some good property, but it goes out the other direction from this other home. Their properties kind of butt up. Houses are kind of like that. But and there's another building that people used to rent out as a cabin that has just basically been abandoned, and nobody goes out there. And he now, like I say, he sets up trail cams, and the deer come through his yard and the whole thing. Whenever he gets pictures of these deer, you know, they're always looking back behind him. Whenever they come out through his house to try to eat in his yard or get into some of the apple jam spots that he has that he can actually visually see what kind of deer are coming up through, they're always looking back behind him. And I know that's characteristic of deer, or deer that, you know, maybe there's a small bear around or what have you. But I've walked his property before, and I have found, I don't want to say teepees, but because there's not that many limbs to necessarily, I would say, oh, that's a teepee, you know. It's more like 4 limbs. It'll be 4 big, long limbs, and sometimes they're upside down, but they'll all lean into a tree together. And I've seen that type of stuff over there. It's a real puzzling place over there he's got, you know. But as I say, I mean, this stuff will happen in the daytime and the nighttime, you know. It's not see, at first it was just at night that they would notice this stuff. I guess it was just, I don't know, I guess that's just when they started noticing it. But throughout the last year, it happens in the daytime, it happens at the nighttime. It doesn't matter what time of day or night. But I first met this man through bow hunting and deer hunting, and I was just talking to him about hunting deer. And he would go down to West Virginia. And like I said, I live down here by the state line, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland. And he goes over into West Virginia, and he hunts private properties. And, well, he'd get his deer, and he'd clean his deer out there, the gut piles and all of this, and it was always in a little pit. And I was like, oh, that's cool. All right, yeah, maybe I'll have to go out there with you sometime. I said, you know, you say you always do this right there, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, yeah. Now, this is when I was first meeting him. I said, yeah. Yeah, you ever hear anything weird out there in the woods when you're sitting there in the trees or anything? You know, just trying to, you know, get a conversation going in a direction I like to talk. And he said, you know, he goes, the past couple times I've cleaned deer out there and dumped these guts. He's like, I hear these, like, weird kind of noises around me, and it'll happen in one direction, then another direction, and another direction. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, it's kind of all around me. It's almost like a woo, like this is what he says. And I said, oh, really? He goes, yeah, it's like a little noise like that. He goes, I thought somebody was in there actually, you know, like he was letting someone else in there, you know, on the property. He goes, but no one else has been there. And the more that, or he says he hasn't let anyone else in there but him. Now, the more I started to get to know him, I said, well, what else is around this property? And he goes, well, there's a man that raises pheasants and different types of birds in the property just over from him. I said, oh, really? He goes, yeah. I said, huh. I wonder if that guy's ever had any livestock killed from coyote or anything like that. And he goes, I don't know. Well, one day he got the opportunity to ask this guy that. And he caught him and he talked to him, and he says, yeah, He says, yeah, I don't know what's killing them. He says, but I have had some livestock killed from them. But I don't know what killed his livestock, but it's just interesting whenever I hear people that raise livestock in the forest or the woods or near tree lines and stuff like that. I always try to keep an ear out about that. But that's about it for my friend. But I myself, I think I had a sighting. A sighting.
Really?
Yep. And it was in the same area, you guys, back on the interview. Let me look here at our time, make sure we're good. Oh, gosh, boy, that's
You're good. You've got 8 minutes.
Okay, well, I think I had a sighting, and the reason I say that, and this was daytime, but the reason I say this is, I mean, I didn't see something walk out in front of me and go, hey, here I am. You know, that's not what it was. What happened was
I don't do that anyway.
Well, you know, hey, who knows? But this was in the same area that I told you guys back in the previous time when I had an interview with you guys about where I got roared at and all of this. Mm-hmm. And Lori, at that time, you had told me, you go, you know, Geof, I think if you keep going in that area, you may have a sighting. And I thought, well, you know, after that roar and everything else, I wasn't sure I wanted to really see one. You know, in fact, I had to back up and anyway, I got really scared, man. But so anyway, in the same area, I was Google Earthing, and Lori, you told me about topo maps and stuff like this, and I thought, well, you know, and I started using Google Earth and looking, and I noticed that right beside this area where I got roared at, once you go through a series of tree lines, there's what I call a big meadow area that opens up, and all around this meadow is like big hills, lots of tree cover. You know, there's a lot of this stuff, and there's water holes and systems that go all through around it. And so I thought, all right, well, that makes sense, you know, and hey, maybe they watch this open area, and maybe there's a few scouted around. I don't know. My mind started getting the best of me, so I thought, well, you know what? I want to go out and I want to set up a nighttime listen. So I thought, all right, and I was talking with you, Lori, when we got to share some time recently about the darkest nights of the month. And I thought, okay, well, that's when they're supposed to come in close, or when it could be opportune for them to come in close. So, man, maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. I've been thinking about full moons and stuff like this all this time, or whatever. Okay, well, let's go with the darkest night. So that's what I did. And this was in August. This was just, you know, last month I did this. And I said, okay, well, a couple nights before the 14th of August, which was the darkest night, all right, I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to scout this meadow area. I'm going to try to break through. I'm going to look and all this, and I'm going to see where I can see sign and track and things like this, and I'm going to try to bait this area, and then that way, hopefully, they'll be coming into this area because of bait or bait that was there, you know, so hopefully we can catch something and listen to it, okay? Well, sorry, it's a lot of breathing. We went out there. Oh, man, I caught poison all over my legs, man. I was digging my flesh, man, so bad. It was horrible. Well, anyway, 'cause I went out there without my boots like an idiot. But anyway, I went out there. With a friend, and I said, okay, listen, man, we're going to go out there in the morning time before we go to work. You know, I need you to be in my house at this time. It's going to be early. So we go out there. Now, our first day of going out there to scout this area, I had one contact in my eye, because I'm the type where I don't take my contacts out like I should. Well, anyway, I had one contact out and one contact in. I was going to wait till we got there and put the other one in. Well, I have the little container right in my hand, and we're going down the mountain road and everything else, and we're about at this certain pull-off where we're going to pull off and try to, where I think, because I'm looking at the maps, where the shortest break in the tree line is to breach this meadow, right? Well, okay, on our way, we see a big flock of turkeys, big flock of hens. I was like, oh, man, look at that, you know, whatever. We cruise on down. We find the pull-off. As soon as we pull in, now remember, I out of the out of the windshield, if we're sitting in the vehicle, my truck, straight ahead through the middle of this vehicle, that's 12 o'clock, okay? And then, just to the right is 1, then 2, then 3, and, the whole thing. Well, we pull in, and there was this black mass right through the tree line that I'm trying to breach that appeared to be where I thought this meadow area was. And it was just a black mass. And it wasn't, see, the trees were in the way, man. But, I mean, the sun was shining through the trees. There was enough to where I could see something, and it glided. I mean, this thing glided. It moved. I'm sitting here with my hand in the air right now, but it glided from left to right. It glided from left to right, and in the middle, it took a small dip, went back to its original height, and glided to the right. And just as we pulled in, and I said now I got one contact in. I looked at my buddy and I said, "Hey man, did you see that?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did, man." And now this guy went in. I make him tag along because he's a real skeptic and the whole thing, and he's really just entertaining me. But I need him to help me with equipment and things like this, help spread bait, whatever. So I said, "Man, did you see that at 12 o'clock?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did." And I go, "What'd you see, man?" And he goes, "I saw something move from left to right." And I went, keep your eyes. I go, "You saw it move in the 1, 2 o'clock position?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Keep your eyes on it. I didn't put this contact in, man." So I leaned down. I put this contact in my eye as fast as I can. I said, "Did you see anything? Did you see anything else?" He said, "No, I didn't see it, man." So I said, "All right, well, let's go out and let's search this area." And we went directly into the area where we saw this thing. And where we saw whatever it was move from left to right. And we get back there, and man, it wasn't in a meadow at all. And in fact, there was a lot of tree line to breach into this meadow where I thought looked real thin. But there was so much briar and so much berry bushes and, I mean, jaggers, and just, it was real rocky. And man, it was just, I was like, man, we got to find another way around. So we actually went to a different area and walked this big, long way around. That's how I got all this poison. But we saw these 2 fresh trees that were pretty good size. I mean, they're about, I don't know, I'd say as big around as a paint gallon bucket. And they were pushed over, or at least they were laying on the ground, and they had fresh leaves on them. The wood was real bendable, and it was the same kind of tree. And this was in 2 different areas. One was in the beginning of the area. One was way up ahead, getting into a field area. And so I thought that was pretty strange. Well, anyway, so we talked about what we saw, and like I say, what I saw was thin. I thought maybe what I saw at first was a turkey. But, once we got back there, I was like, there's no way we saw a turkey because of the height of the clearance and what have you. I don't know what we saw. But because I didn't see any arm movement, I didn't see anything like that. But what I saw was leaned over. And it was more like the silhouette, as if somebody was standing sideways, leaned over. That's what I saw. It was leaned over, and it was really smooth, and it was really kind of straggly looking, honestly, what I saw. But what I saw was jet black. The sun was on it. There was no shine on it. I did not see, it looked like, I swear, it looked like a black shadow or a black mass. It was solid black. You couldn't see anything through it, nothing. But I didn't see a face. I didn't see any gray. I didn't see any obstructions, none of this. I also had 1 damn contact in. But I didn't see any of that. I didn't see any of that. Now, I asked my friend, I said, "No, what'd you see?" And I said, "You tell me what you saw." And he said, "I saw something move like this. It dipped once, and I saw light through about where the middle of it was." I go, "What do you mean?" And later on, we got to the shop. We started drawing little diagrams, and he drew what he saw where, like, sort of 2 little pieces of arms, like maybe where the wrist and the hip was. There was a little bit of light right there that shined through. I did not see that. I wish I would have seen that because it maybe, helped me clarify what I saw, but I did not see. All I saw was something jet black like that. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty weird. Now,
it's on personal blob squatch.
Huh? Do what?
You had your own personal blob squatch there.
Yeah. I mean, I wish it was something clear. I wish it was something definitive. I wish it was more, but I think I saw one. I don't know what I saw, but it was too big to be a turkey or anything. And I'm telling you, what I saw was jet black. I mean, it was jet black. It was jet black. But
and that's not an unusual color, Geof.
Well, that's what I hear. But now, I tell you what, I know I've probably got maybe just a minute left or something, but later on that night in that same area is where we stopped to do our listening. All right, we baited this whole area, the whole thing, we listened, and unfortunately, the cicadas and the frogs and the crickets and everything else were so loud, I couldn't hear anything, man, but that stuff. He was out one window with stuff. I was out the other window. We actually didn't get out of our vehicles. I had a parabolic zip tied to my mirror outside my door of my truck. I took the mirror off, the whole thing, so we didn't have to do anything, and I tried to, I don't know, it just, but as soon as we got there, I went out to a tree near some of the bait, and I noticed that there's a little hill that goes down, and I noticed there were two sticks that make an X, but it was on the ground. I thought, well, look at that. That's pretty neat. Well, anyway, I zip-tied a piece of audio to the tree and I pushed it on so that when we left, if we didn't get anything, I could come back in the morning, retrieve that audio, and see if anything happened when we left. And that's what I did. I retrieved it, listened to it. Now, of course, I didn't listen to all of it, but, man, what I did listen to is 2 hours after we left. We left at 10 at night. We actually didn't stay that long. Well, we got there at 6 o'clock, but we didn't stay all that long. I mean, for all those cicadas and stuff, man, that was a long time to listen to all that now, seriously. But 2 hours after we left, something comes in 2 times. There might be more. I didn't listen to all the audio. Something comes in 2 times, moves a branch out of the way. I mean, you can hear the branch creak. It's a thick branch from the way it sounds. You can hear the branch creak and moan, and it stays there a second, and then it shuffles down the hill, like kind of like if you're shuffling 2 feet down the hill through the leaves. That happens twice. So I don't know.
That's weird, but that's an awesome sighting and everything. I mean, that's really awesome. I know you've been waiting a long time for that.
Yeah, I have. Well, see, the thing is, guys, I mean, I have more than enough proof for myself to really believe this and understand it as a reality, without a sighting. But it is neat to finally have something that I can't explain. Now, unfortunately, I'm not like Tracy Arnold from the ECDRO where, oh, man, there it is, man, But at the same time, I saw something, I don't know what it is, but I know what it wasn't, It wasn't a deer,
Yeah.
It wasn't any of that.
We appreciate you sharing that with us and everything else. It was just
thank you for coming on too.
Yeah,
we
feel really
honored
that we feel honored that you shared that with us, and that you came back on. We always love having you on our show. You're so passionate about everything. It makes for a really great show.
Oh, thanks, guys. I wish I could have said, oh man, there's all these Bigfoots doing all this stuff, and in my mind, that's what I think's happening. But I want to leave it for the listener and for the guests to, have a good time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight, and stay and listen to the rest of the show if you have time. Oh yeah, I'm going to sit here and turn my computer up now that I'm going to be off the phone. So. Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much, Geof. Hey, no problem. See you later, Geof. Have a great night. All right, bye. Bye. Good night. Now we have Fred Kanney from Virginia. Somebody want to bring him on?
Hello, anybody there?
There you are, Fred.
Hey, Fred.
How y'all doing?
Hi, Fred.
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
doing fine. Thank you so much for calling in tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I love listening to y'all's show. Geof's a good researcher. Daniel's a good researcher. I love Geof, man, because he's got some wild stuff in his area.
He does, and he's so passionate about it. And just we appreciate you waiting. Just a first-time sighting like that, you can't put that into a
you can't just really
story.
cut somebody off when they're telling. Yeah, so
that was awesome.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I've saw plenty of squashes. I've seen them from juveniles up to the one that stepped out in front of me in '81. And every time I see one, it's like it's the first time I'm seeing them. And it's a blast. That's what I like about it. Because when you first see one, you're trying to figure out, am I looking at what I think I'm looking at? And then he starts walking away. Then you say, yep, that's what it was I'm looking at. Everything.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard this guy, Fred Kanney, before, I think he has seen more Sasquatches than anybody that we've ever interviewed. So listen up. He'll have some good things to tell. Go ahead, Fred.
All right. Well,
just start talking. Tell us what's been going on with you.
Well, it's hunting season too, so I'm starting to, I'm still researching, but squirrel season's in right now, and I've been getting followed. I've been having rocks thrown at me, and I've been smelling a ton of vanilla. I don't know why, but the juveniles in my area smell like vanilla. And right now, they're to the point where they're getting braver. Right? Like a month or so ago, I went out and to my one research area out in the apple thicket in the pine orchard, set some cinnamon rolls up. Well, while I was panning, I was panning from right to left, and I over zoomed on it, but I got a juvenile stepping out from behind a tree and looking at me, and I didn't notice him, because I over zoomed it and everything, but they're getting closer, Every time I go into any of my research areas, I'm being followed because, as you know, when I go in, I'm very quiet. I know what animals are in my area, and I know the sounds that they make. And yesterday, I was in two areas. I was in the apple orchard and in the birthing area. And both places I had rocks thrown at me, and I'm hearing tap, tap on my left, tap, tap on my right. I'm hearing stick snaps and everything on the ground, It's pretty wild. But, I live in a place called the Shenandoah Valley. Daniel lives in he lives in the big saddle bowl with me too, and my research area is right off the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Appalachian Trail. And as you know, Sasquatches travel up and down the East Coast off the Appalachian Trail and the Blue Ridge Parkway. Now, the ones in my area, I found birthing beds. And what they do is, from what I've been researching, what I've been finding out through evidence, that I've been seeing, what they do is when hunt season gets here, like in November and December, they leave. They go up in the parkway and they migrate to a place like to another national forest, that doesn't allow hunting. And then when they come back in the spring, I believe the ones I was born there in my area the year before will come back and give birth to their young ones in the same spot. Now, about a month and a half ago, I took Daniel Benoit and his girlfriend into that area. And we was just, we were seeing structures all over the place, and his girlfriend said, y'all hear that? And we started listening, and you could hear chattering, talking, right over the ridge from us. I said, they're over right now. There's at least 3 or 4 of them over right now, So we stood there. We listened to them for about maybe a minute or 2 minutes, something like that. So we left that area and went on up in the trail. And we got to where the creek crosses. We got to go up on the ridge. And I told his girlfriend, I said, let out a whoop or a yell or something like that. So she tried to let out a yell. And about 30 yards in front of us, we had a juvenile try to imitate an owl. If he would have stood up, we could have seen him. Now, I knew where he was at because he was on a flat spot, kind of like right there at the bottom as you go up a ridge. He was right there in the spot. Where he was sitting, he could get a clear view of us. But he was right there. You could hear him and everything. And he followed, you could tell I could tell they followed us in, and they followed us out, you know. But the birthing area is the area that I like that I like in the springtime. Simple fact, very first time I found the birthing areas, I was actually hunting, and it was spring gobbler season, you know, and I was bebopping up through there, and I started walking in, and I got, I'd say probably about 50, 75, 100 yards from the main area, and I got a growl in front of me, a growl to my right, and a growl to my left, and I backed out of there. Went back up there a couple of days later, and I went on up through there. I went all the way up in the birthing areas, and I found two or three beds. And what they did in the pines is they took and they cleared out a spot about 6 to 8 foot wide and about 10 to 13 foot long, and they take and they put sticks all the way around it and a little brush or something like that around it too, and they defecate all the way around it. The purpose of that being is when the babies are born, they're wild. Of course, they're wild creatures anyway. But the smell of the feces will scare the baby and make the baby stay next to mom until she's ready to go. I found blood. I found afterbirth, you know, and people ask me, did you take pictures of it? Did you take any DNA samples? And I told them no. They said, why? I said, because if I did that, and it is what I know it is, people are going to be coming up here from all over the place, trashing my area, trying to get photographs, trying to get DNA and all this stuff, you know, and I don't want that. You know, these creatures, you know, when they get used to you, you know, they'll stay out of sight, but you can definitely know that they're there by the sounds. You know, they'll take and you know, they'll throw rocks at you, they'll snap a twig, or they'll do like a dove call or a bird, any kind of bird sound like that, you know. And if you listen, like when you do a dove sound, if you listen to the particular sound, there's one particular note that a squatch cannot hit, and he will screw it up every time, from the juvies all the way up to the adults. I've got video, and on the audio part of it, you can hear two squatches trying to communicate back and forth to each other to get their location to where I'm at. And every time they do, they screw up. It's just that one particular, you got to be, you know, like me, you might say I'm a perfectionist when it comes to sounds of animals, you know, because I know all the sounds and I study them constantly because I'm in the woods like, but yet I'm disabled, so I can't work. So what I spend my time doing, I'm in the woods 98% of the time. And you get to the point where you know these sounds just by listening to them. You know, it takes a while to really, you know, pick up exactly how the sound goes per animal, you know. But they screw up, and they will give their location away. Like I told Daniel and a couple other guys, I say when you're walking in there and you got this weird feeling that you're being followed, stop, look around, take about 5 or 6 steps, stop in mid-step. That squatch would take that one final step to get in position to watch you, but you can't see him, and he'll snap a stick. He'll snap a leaf, either a leaf or a twig or something on the ground, and he'll give his location away. And I got to the point, you know, whenever I hear that snap, I know exactly where they're at. Like yesterday when I was out there, I kept hearing snaps over to my left. Okay, there's one following me. All right, I go up and go down the trail, you know, and I keep hearing every 3 or 4 minutes, I keep hearing snap, snap, snap. And I know it ain't a deer, and I know it ain't a bear, because right now the people running bear dogs here, and they done chased all the bear out of the area. So I know it ain't a bear. And a deer is not heavy enough to snap a good-sized stick on the ground or a twig on the ground, whatever. And I get in, you know, and I'm sitting there, you know, in the woods there, you know, and I hear a snap, crack, about 40 yards from me to my left, about 10:30, 11 o'clock position. That's okay, there's one right there. Now, here's the funny thing about it. When I shoot a squirrel, because I shoot a 17 Super Mag, when I shoot a squirrel, they haul butt. You can hear them. It sounds like a herd of elephants running down through the woods. But they always come back to follow me. They have figured out that I'm not after them. I'm after these little things that run around up in the trees, you know. And by doing that, you know, I'm walking in the woods, I'm walking slow, and I'm looking, you know, and I'm constantly listening. When I go in the woods, I let my senses go. Anything, I mean, I listen for not one particular thing, not squirrels, not deer, not anything. I don't listen to nothing to a point. I just listen to everything. I listen to every sound that is made when I'm walking. That way I know what's where and what's what, you know. And people, you know, has got to realize that when you go in the woods, you know, like in the birthing area, when you go to the birthing areas, you know, in the springtime, you start noticing a lot more structures. You start to I can't say 100% of the time, but I can say like 50 to 60% of the time you start getting a stench smell, and the closer you walk up the trail, the more you can smell it, and it does send a shiver up and down your spine, because at that point you know you're being watched. You don't know what direction it is, you don't know where they're at, but you just got this feeling that something's watching you, you know. And I've got to the point, you know, I can go up in the birthing area, but like when I took Daniel and him up there, we didn't go to the top. We just sat right at the bottom of the ridge, you know, because when you look up there at this time of year, you look up toward the birthing area, you can have to get on your hands and knees and crawl up through there. That's how thick it is. But they was on the back half of it, you know, chattering. And people, you know, a lot of people tell me, oh, you know I know where the birthing area are. You want to show me? No, I ain't going to show you. Daniel is the only person I've ever showed where that birthing area is. And I know he's not going to go back and go up through there and trash the place. You know, I know that for a fact. If he wants to go back, I'll take him back up there, you know. We'll go around a certain way or something like that, you know. But right now, you know, the juveniles are, the ones I've been seeing are about 3.5 to 4 foot tall, maybe 4.5 foot, you know. And, you know, like I said, I got the twins. I got a set of twin girls. I got a set of reddish brown boys, a set of black boys, you know, and their coats are shiny black. I got one on video, the one I over-zoomed at. He was a blackish gray, and his face was too. But he was short and he was chunky, you know. So now the weather is starting to get cooler here in the valley. They're going to start migrating slowly. I mean, they're not all going to leave at the same time. You're going to have some stragglers here during black powder season and maybe one or two during rifle season, you know, but they always leave. But when they come back during the springtime, they come right back to where they was born at, and they give birth to their young. And they teach their young about that area. You know, yesterday, day for yesterday, I went up on this one ridge going back. I got an area called Sharando Lake. We got an upper and a lower lake. And we got a place called Shandor Acres. It's like both of them like recreation, but Sharando Lake is in the mountains between my area and the parkway, you know, and I'm starting to walk that way, and I get up on a ridge, and I start seeing structures, you know, I'm seeing fresh breaks, like Geof said, trees with leaves on them, you know. I mean, I've seen teepees up in there. I've seen trees bent over and have like 3 sets of X's, you know, crossed on top of the bent trees, you know, bent limbs and trees and stuff like that, you know. And every time I go up in there, I'm constantly learning. Because I tell people, why do you know so much about Bigfoot? To a point. I says, everything is right there in front of you. All you got to do is learn to decipher it. Like a video I made the other day. A 5-year-old can do it. All we got to do is just think, why is he doing that? Point blank being, a lot of it is directional. A lot of it is teaching, because you see big formations, you see small formations. If you on certain structures, if you look at the ground, you will see the same structure miniaturized on the ground, which is the adults learning which is the juveniles learning from the adults, you know, and you can tell. I mean, I found structures yesterday. I got in one area where Daniel saw that where he got that video of that squatch watching him, which is the picnic area. On top of the ridge there, I got a structure up there that they made. It looks exactly like a tic-tac-toe board. There's 3, 3, and 3. Either way you look, it's 3, 3. It looks like a tic-tac-toe board, and it's all sucker limbs bent into shapes. You know, these creatures are very intelligent, and they always got a purpose for what they're doing. And
that checkerboard was on the ground?
Sir?
That checkerboard was on the ground, or was it standing up?
No, it was up about 2, 3 feet off the ground. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was like 6 sucker trees. See, in my area, back in the 20s and 30s, they logged a bunch of areas, and most of it they either planted pines or it's just little sucker limbs and trees growing up, you know, right. Because they didn't come back and plant any trees in that area, so everything grew natural. We got thickets that looks like it's nothing but sucker trees. You know, little small trees. They're tall, but they're small. Anywhere from about the size of a toothpick to size of a softball. About 10, 15 foot tall. We call them sucker trees because they grow there naturally. And in this area, you know, we got a lot of, you know, we got laurel brush, honeysuckle thickets, briars. Talking about the ones that look like rose thorns, but they're like 3 times as strong as them. You know, we got all that, you know, and then hardwood and pines all combined together, you know, in certain areas. Because if you look on Google Map and look at the Shenandoah Valley, you will see just inside a big salad bowl, you will see gigantic blotches of pine thickets. That's what they did back in the 20s, 30s when they logged. They planted pine trees. Then there's some areas that don't have it. You know, it's just all natural growth up. And with this natural growth in this one particular area, they made a structure that looked like a tic-tac-toe board. And yesterday I found a structure that looked like a box with 4 boxes on the end of it. You know, like four corners.
Right.
You know, and I mean, you know, and I found footprints. I found from 5-inch footprints to 12-inch footprints. They were going up the ridge, they were going down the ridge, they were going all. There's certain areas that I go into that I know that they hang out at. Now, they hang out in the Mill Creek, Kennedy Field Ridge, and Bald Mountain area. Bald Mountain area is we call a pig trail. It's a dirt road. It goes up through the mountains and comes out on the parkway. So that's one way in, because I've been up there at the top a few times coming in that way, trail riding, and about a half mile in, you get to an open area, and it's all you see is footprints from little ones. I think the biggest one I've seen was 18.5-inch track, about 9.5, 10 inches wide, maybe a little wider, you know, up in this area, you know, and as long as they're up on the parkway, they know they can live and survive without being bothered by humans because you're not allowed to hunt on the parkway. But after that quarter-mile mark, or after that 1 mile mark, then it's all George Washington National Forest, and they can legally, and people hunt. You know, right now there are people riding all over the mountains running bear dogs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years ago, I was riding down the road, seeing one of the bear hunters, you know, working on his truck. So I stopped and talked to him. He said, "Oh yeah, you're the Bigfoot hunter." I said, "No, I'm not a hunter. I'm a researcher." Well, we were sitting there talking, you know, and he said his dog's up in this, you know, up in this one area, you know. And I asked him, I said, "You ever lose any dogs?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You ever find the collars?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Were they ripped?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Were they pulled apart?" He said, "Yeah." "Why?" I said, "The Squatch got them." He said, "How do you know?" I says,
"Yep."
"Have your dogs ever run into a Squatch?" "Hell, I don't know." Well, about a minute later, here comes his dogs. 2 of them come down off the ridge, and they went right underneath the truck. And they were terrorized. He said, "What's wrong?" I says, He saw a Squatch. Well, how do you know? I said, reach underneath there and grab one of them dogs. He went underneath the truck, grabbed one. He got snapped at. I says, I told you. You know.
Yeah, we had someone up here lose 6 dogs to when they were out bear hunting.
Yeah, we got people around here, you know. I mean, back when I was younger, you know, when me and you were younger, we used to get out and run through the mountains with the dogs. Nowadays, they got collars on where they just sit in the truck and just let the dogs run. They just sit in the truck and watch the radar. That's not bear hunting, you know. But right now it's chase season, so they're training their dogs like that. And 9/10 of them got to go over to Nelson County, which is the next county over, to get them dogs. I mean, I've been riding up Ball Mountain and get out of my Jeep and go about half mile up in the woods looking for structures, you know, so I could and come back. There'd be a bear hound in the back of my Jeep from over in Nelson County. I don't know why, but you know, there's certain animals. We do know from what I've been understanding that Squatches will take like a baby coyote and they will train it or keep it, whatever. You know, teach it to run. You know, I've heard Squatches. I've heard coyotes yell and yap and a whole of them, and you can hear some that's 3 times as deep, hooting and hollering with them, which would be a Squatch. You know, but right now our coyotes getting bigger because they're starting to breed with red wolves and gray wolves, so they're getting more, you know, bigger in size. But anyway, you know, the birthing areas, you know, they take and they'll come in to that spot when they come back in, and they will give birth to their young right there. And then they'll stay around that area all summer long into the fall, teaching the juvenile, you know, and whatever humans out there, they'll say watch them, you know, and all this bunch of stuff, you know. But they're so used to me here, you know. I mean, for the past 2 years, you know, it's been the same group come back in. And they know me from my voice and from what I look like. Because when I go in, I'll say, Ushka. You know, like that. What's that?
I have no idea.
Sounds like someone whistling.
I know, but I don't know why. Well, Fred, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with us again.
Okay. It's a pleasure.
I still don't know what that whistle was. But as usual, we love hearing from you, and we love the way you relate, how you work in the woods, and how you work with the Squatch and everything. So thank you so much for coming on this evening, and we hope that you can stay and hear the rest of the show.
Oh, I'm planning on it. I can't wait to hear the next researcher. He rocks, too.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear Webb. He's really great as well. So thank you again for coming on, and we're going to go ahead and bring on Webb.
Okay, thank you, and I'll be back anytime you want me to. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Fred.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hello, Webb. Hey. Are you there?
Hey. Yeah, we're here.
Can you hear me? Oh, good.
Hey, Webb. We can hear you.
Good to hear you from you guys again.
Good to hear from you.
Good. Is the audio okay?
Yeah, you sound great. Coming through loud and clear.
Good. Well, I've been enjoying hearing your show.
Thank you. Thank you. You got enough time to catch us up. You ready?
I got all the time you need.
Okay. All right.
Ask and you shall receive.
I know. So what have you been up to?
Well, I continue. I have a clinical practice in neuropsychology, and that's my day job. And I would have liked to have been an animal researcher, but I couldn't figure out how to make a living at it. They offered me the job of training critters at Opryland, and that was pretty cool, but I couldn't really talk my wife and kids into that, so I had to, like Sigmund Freud, I had to be a clinician to make ends meet. But I've been going out a lot. I have 2 very active sites that we've been working, and I've got a lot of stuff to tell you about all that.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
Well, I the big picture is that a lot of people don't know that the Piney Woods is actually an excellent research area for the Sasquatch phenomenon. Of course, the Pacific Northwest is the hot spot of all hot spots, and then you've got Ohio and Florida, and then it's debatable about what's next, but from about Honobi to Mena, all the way down to Beaumont, Texas, over into Louisiana, the Big Thicket, these woods are often called the Big Piney Woods. And there are a lot of Sasquatch sightings in East Texas, western Louisiana. Now that's where I'm doing my work, and I had a lot of sites going. And I still, if somebody's listening to this and they want me to come check out their site, I'll be glad to do that and come and show you what you might look for. But I had to boil it down, and I took all these almost a dozen different sites that I was sort of interested in, and I boiled it down to two major ones, and it's been it's been productive in a way, and but also I'm frustrated that this work is so slow going. But I have a site in Caddo Parish, and I have a site in Bossier Parish, and I've been exchanging. I've been offering some food at the food plot, and I've been exchanging other items, particularly at the southernmost location. So anybody that's interested could go on my Facebook page, Samuel Webb Sentell, and probably the best Facebook album. Anything that says research has to do with the Sasquatch question, but if you go and you look at the Boo Radley album, you'll see the marble game that I've been playing with somebody. And I can't swear to you that it's not a psychopath forest ranger of some sort, or a forester who's discovered what I'm doing and is playing games with me. But as my other PhD colleague says, you've been doing this since about October of 14, so that's a pretty diligent prank. Whoever, if somebody's pranking you, this is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing that they've carried the prank on this long. But there's a lot of subtle, anomalous evidence that says it's not a human being pranking me. But I keep waiting for someone to stick their face out. But so far, I have not had a one-on-one, close-up encounter.
Mm.
Now, we're getting ready for the Honobi Bigfoot Festival, and I wanted to also put in a plug and an invitation for folks to come up to Honobi, Oklahoma on October 2nd and 3rd and come to the festival. I'm going to be presenting on Friday morning. I think it's either 9 or 9:30, but I'm going to kick it off, and I'm going to talk about science and my background as a basic scientist in the field is called ethology. We used to call it comparative psychology, but it's called ethology now. It's animal behavior. And I'm going to talk about the difference between applied scientists and basic scientists, and try to get people up to speed on what the issue is with the Academy. The Academy has issues with us folks who want to research the Bigfoot question, and there may be some ways that we can begin to start talking the language that they understand and will listen to. And then I'm going to talk about my participation in the Genome Project with Dr. Ketchum, and how it was very serendipitous how I fell into that. A lot of people in this Bigfoot research realm find that their best things happen sort of by luck and by chance, and that's sort of the way it was with me. And I'm going to talk about how I got involved in the Genome Project. And then I'm going to talk about my two presentations at the Society for Scientific Exploration. This is the one group of scientists that will accept your Bigfoot paper, and they will welcome you. And they're scientists who are legitimate scientists, but they are not afraid to tackle the fringe topics. So that's the SSE. But this coming next weekend, we're going to be at Honobi, and I've never been there, so I'm looking forward to it with a lot of delight.
Yes, that's always a really good conference. We all went one time, and we were trying to go back this year, but it's just not working out for any of us. But I was really excited to hear that you were speaking there, which is one of the reasons I wanted to go so bad this year. So hopefully somebody...
I hope I can do well for you.
Yeah, hopefully somebody puts it up on YouTube so I can still catch it. But
right.
It's really nice to go and hear all the presenters there and meet everybody face to face, put a face with the name and everything and the voice.
Right.
So I know there's probably a lot of people looking forward to hearing you speak, and I really hope that that a lot of people show up this year.
Yes, I do too. I'm basically going to be presenting the research that I have so far. I'm going to show the picture of the scat sample and the hair sample that went into the Genome Project, and then I'm going to show some of the ancillary data that went along with that submission. And then I moved to the Caddo site, and I've had a lot of interesting things happen. And folks that come to this Hanobi Festival will find that there are crew and cast members from the Killing Bigfoot show. We just got through. I was fortunate enough to be invited to participate in the upcoming follow-up shows to the Killing Bigfoot premiere that came out. And, of course, I am a no-kill proponent because I think that the only extant data we have says that they're very probably a human hybrid, and therefore killing them would be murder, and we have to take a different approach, just as we would studying any type of bushman or primitive indigenous people. And so these folks are going to be there. There's some of the stars of the show that do want to kill a Bigfoot are going to be there, and producer Peter von Puttkamer, who is an award-winning film producer, they're going to be there, and those guys are very, very interesting folks. They've done a lot of filming in some very remote and unusual locations and circumstances. So they're going to be there, and folks will get a chance to meet and greet those guys. We just got through shooting a lot of video footage at my location, the northern location in Caddo, and it was a very interesting time was had. Strangely enough, later that week, a second film crew headed by James Collier and Colonel John Alexander came out there to do their documentary, and we had even more activity. We had, I actually slept through it, believe it or not. I got stung by a deer fly and took a bunch of Benadryl, and I was sacked out in the middle of the camp snoring at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up the next morning, and I said, James, I'm sorry you guys came all the way here and not much happened. He said, oh, Doc, you missed it. Something, growled, roared, and charged the tent, and we went outside, and we heard a wood knock here and a wood knock in the swamp, and they told me the whole story, and and unfortunately I slept through it on the 100 milligrams of Benadryl that it took to get my face back unswollen. So we had some very interesting times, and my landowner, after that, has had 2 brief glimpses since that time. He thinks it is the youngster that's out there. But my landowner has reported that the activity has been pretty consistent during and since this time. So we've been having a lot of interesting goings on. Now, of course,
that was all at the Caddo site?
That was at the Caddo site, correct. And, Caddo. Now, if you guys are familiar with the Finding Bigfoot show, now I hope they're not listening, okay, because they came to town, and Matt Moneymaker and everybody interviewed us and all, and I told him about my participation in the finding of the scat and the hair and all, and he was very interested, but I said, that's gone. That site is closed down. It's no longer available. The guys rented out the trailer and the acreage, and so. But I wasn't about to share with them my ongoing, active, cherished site. I would not bring a film crew into my good site where these guys trust me. In fact, I don't even take my own camera. When I did take my thermal camera into the southern site, activity dropped precipitously for a week or so. And so, but anyway, I did say to Mr. Moneymaker, I said, I want to introduce you to Ben DuPont. And Mr. Ben DuPont had one of the greatest sightings I've heard, and it's right by the Caddo Lake Dam. I guess I suppose it's okay to say that because it's been featured on Finding Bigfoot. But At any rate, Ben saw a female rattle a livestock trailer that they had a pig locked, a wild pig they had caught. They were feeding out, and he came out in the moonlight when he heard some ruckus, and he saw a female Bigfoot rattling this cage trying to get at the hog. The Bigfoot subsequently, well, she vocalized a couple of times, and then she saw Ben and turned around and walked for the woods. And Ben probably saw this Sasquatch for 45 seconds to 2 minutes. I'm not sure exactly what, but Facebook, Finding Bigfoot. Even Renee, the skeptic, said that she thought that this was one of the best documented sightings she'd seen. So Caddo has a lot of stuff going on. It has a long history back to 1865 when they had a run-in with a Caddo wild man that was featured in the Arkansas Gazette. So this area is a very interesting area. We've camped out up there, and but again, what I do is I go to the same place over and over, and my theory is that I want the
Oh no, did we lose him?
Where'd he go?
I kept hearing beeping. It almost sounded like his phone was.
Well, it was
just a second.
it sounded like Facebook chat or something, but he dropped out.
Dropped off. He's gone. His phone was connected.
He'll call right back in, I'm sure.
I was going to ask him sometime through there, what his next, excuse me, since we've talked to him, what he's going to be making presentations about, if there's anything new. Hopefully he can call back. He's probably going nuts right now trying to do that. I like Webb.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to go and do some Google on trying to find that lake he was talking about.
Okay, he's trying to call back in. Okay.
All right.
We have a few precious minutes left. I'm not done.
We got some music?
Listening to him. What? Oh my gosh, stop. You sound like a mouse squeaking. I don't like it.
Oh, no, we're going to bring that to the mouse. Don't want to wake Billy up either.
Yeah, Billy's over there knocked out on Theraflu, missing these awesome guests that we have on.
Yeah, we got some great guests on tonight. We always have good guests, but man, to get 4 really great guests on in one night, I'm loving it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, good. Yes. Okay.
What happened?
Oh, you dropped out on us.
Good. Well, I don't know what happened. We just got disconnected.
I kept hearing little beeps that kind of led up to it. It sounded like your phone was losing something.
Maybe so. Well, I'll just. I'm also.
Ask you.
Yeah.
In the few minutes we got left, you're going to be making a presentation. Since the last time we talked to you, has anything changed in the way you're thinking about your research?
Well, I would only say that I've become more frustrated. I've been doing this pretty seriously for a number of years, and I'm going to be interested to hear what Ron Moorhead has to say, because I think I feel the same way. You go out there and you're nice. I don't take a gun anymore. I leave my gun behind, and you make these sacrifices, and you go out in the middle of the night, and they break a few limbs, or they knock a few times, or whatever, but they don't stick their head out. They don't stick their face out. And so, you're just nice for years and years and years, and these guys are really tough. I guess they've spent 10,000 years not interacting with us. They're not going to be easy, but it's gotten frustrating.
Just be patient. Now that you've left your gun at home, they'll start to trust you, I think. And
So where do you think you're going with this? If they're being so difficult to bring out into some kind of communication, where do you think you need to go with this? I mean, the South is known; those are known to be very private and sometimes pretty angry.
Yes.
And very defensive. groups as opposed to some others that just watch it. We just up here in Washington, they just watch it and stay out of sight, but and they don't bother you. But it seems that down there in East Texas and Louisiana, going up into Arkansas just a little bit, they seem to be a little bit more tense, let's say.
Oh,
how are you going to break that?
Yes, that's a very good question, and I'm hoping that you've got some ideas. You know, I try not to be aggressive. I try, my theory and my approach is to not bring in the game cams, not bring in the thermals, to not even now. I'm probably going to start. I have a friend of mine, John Morley, and if y'all hadn't had John on, you need to get John Morley on here. He's got some of the most amazing audio that I've heard, and he is very skilled at hanging these little ongoing audio recorders and getting some audio from them, and they apparently will cooperate with the audio a lot quicker. And I'm going to invite John to come down and start hanging some audio, and we're going to see if that causes them to be even more furtive. But if they're not, more scarce at that point, we may gently move forward. MK Davis has some very interesting videos, and MK has a couple of videos, and I'm not sure where they came from, but someone was clever enough to put their camera in a mirror. Have y'all seen those?
Mm-mm.
MK has it's out by a barn, and it looks like it's in the South somewhere, but the camera is pointed into a fairly large,
I get you.
Little mirror that somebody got off a convenience store somewhere, and you see in the distance, you can see a large humanoid moving, and he's got several videos where they've caught what appears to be a Bigfoot on camera by filming it into the mirror. So the camera is pointing into the mirror rather than toward the path of the so-called Sasquatch.
It's actually a pretty good approach. Rick Knoll, I don't know if you remember his name, he developed something with somebody. It's a 360 lens, and the camera's looking from underneath at this 360 lens. And a couple of other people, Tim Stover, tried that for a while. He just got a small mirror from a car and put it right next to the lens, aiming backwards. And he aimed the camera one way and walked in that direction that the camera was pointing, but the mirror was looking behind to see if there's any movement as he's walking away in the other direction. So those kind of things seem to work sometimes.
Yes, I think they do. So I may try some more techniques. It's difficult to know. We spent time trying to learn to go to the moon. They spent the same 10,000 years learning to stay out of sight and out of mind from in relation to us. So they are very, very skilled at avoiding us.
Well, you picked a hard nut to crack on this group.
Yes, it is. But I was.
Oh no! You went out again.
Ding.
Something interesting that he said about the audio, I think the audio will work because it works in the piney woods. So I think audio will work. Just need to give it a try.
Lack of a physical human being there might help. They might go up. They might notice that it's there and be curious about it, but they're not going to take it as serious. There's a lot of even the game. They've seen game cams out there from the rangers and stuff like that every once in a while. So I imagine they have, a little bit of curiosity, but they know it's not a harmful thing. That sideways mirror, a couple of people have tried that. I'm not sure why some others haven't tried that themselves, building some kind of box or something around the camera.
Makes a lot of sense to me because they seem to know what the business end of the camera is, just like game tracker cameras. They'll get behind them, but they won't go in front of them. So with the mirror,
some people say that eye. It's almost like an eye pointing in a certain direction. They know what direction certain things are pointing. They'll sneak back around behind a game cam and knock it around a little bit, but you won't get them standing in front of it. Now, they don't maybe know exactly what it does, but they know it's pointing at something, or they even see that little red beam or whatever when the camera turns on. They know it's pointing in that direction. Stay out of that area. But so a backwards mirror, that'd be interesting to try something like that with a game cam.
Huh. Yes. Good idea.
My brain goes,
let's hope our listeners learn some things tonight and able to take some of what they've learned tonight, take it out in the field, and try it themselves. And we had quite a great group on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like Webb may not be calling back in, and we are down to the last 4 minutes. So,
we should just go ahead and call it a night then.
Well, I just want to let everyone know who's going to be on next week. Let me get my little thing here. Okay. Next Thursday is my birthday.
Oh, the day before is mine.
Yes, and the day before that is Miss Lauren. But next Thursday we're going to have Dawn Peak from Kentucky. So I'm really looking forward to that. On the 8th, I have a guest. My goodness. Let me see if I can get his name here. Bob, and boy, this is the name, Schmausbach. I'm sure I'm murdering it. I think that's Webb back on. So let's bring Webb back. Okay.
I'm back on. Sorry, I got bumped off again. I don't know what's wrong with my phone here. But I was asking you guys, did I tell you the story last time about getting screamed at?
I don't know. You have 2 minutes, 45 seconds before the show ends. So
okay.
Tell us quickly.
November, I believe it was the 11th, I was out there replenishing my food spot, and it was the first time that anybody had ever unscrewed a jar to get at the pastries. And I came out there about 3 o'clock, and lo and behold, for the first time ever, somebody had unscrewed a jar. And it was on pretty good and snug. Pastries were gone. The apple was half gone that I had on a stub, and it was dripping from the bottom, and I could hear sounded like something receding toward the bayou bank. And I thought, oh, my goodness, I've come out here in mid-caper. So I reloaded the pastries, and I mounted the trail to walk out, and something screamed at me, just the most amazing loud scream. And I was about 45, 50 yards from the food plot at that point, and I just doubled over. And so I sat down, and I started doing a little knocking game, and something was suddenly knocking back. And after about 8 minutes, I thought, oh, my gosh, the food plot. And I made myself walk back, and the doggone fritter that I had just placed was gone. So that's when I began to think that maybe that was a mother and a child, and they were foraging there. And the mother was, I call it the David Copperfield caper. They misdirected me while Junior got the new fritter.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
I can't explain it in any other way. You know, my PhD friend said, you know, Webb, the possibility that a barred owl on steroids is in cahoots with a raccoon to steal your fritters is less parsimonious than your first theory.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Webb, we want to thank you for coming on. And you always make us laugh, I swear.
Yes.
Somebody had said something about, y'all just laugh and laugh. Well, it was our guest that was making us laugh. I mean, good Lord, how can you keep a straight face?
It's wonderful.
Well, thank you. I
you
certainly
so much.
appreciate you guys. Well, it's my pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you guys at Honovi.
Okay, well, we're going to try to make it, but I can't give no promises, but we're going to try.
It'll be on the internet, you know.
Yes. Thank you so much again for coming.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Webb.
Bye, y'all.
Good night, Webb. Well, it's been a great show.
It's been a great show.
Say good night, everybody.
Yes. Yes.
See you next Thursday, October 1st. What?
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.